Okay. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So today my group will present our topic, which is research design qualitative case study. But before we proceed to the presentation, I would like to introduce our members. First, myself, my name is Aziza binti Manan and my magic number is 197657. Second is Noraza binti Aziz. Number magic is 196376. And third is Nurul Fatin binti Kusnin, and number metric is 196889. For this presentation, there are 7 timeline content. First, definitions. Second, technique. Third, type of case study. Fourth, step of conducting case study. Fifth, reliability and validity. Six, strength and weakness, and lastly is example of case study. Okay, we will proceed to definition. We present by Fatin.
Next slide, Liza. Okay, so I will present about what is case study. A case study is an in-depth study of a particular research problem rather than a sweeping statistical survey or comprehensive comparative inquiry. Case study is often used to narrow down a very broad field of research into one of a few easily researchable examples. And case study research is a qualitative approach in which the investigator explores a bounded system or multiple bounded systems over time through detailed, in-depth data collection involving multiple sources of information. For example, is observation, interview, audiovisual material, and document also a report. And report a case description and case-based themes. So what do case study tell us? First, case study will tell about a case study approach excel at bringing us to an understanding of a complex issue through detailed contextual analysis of a limited number of events or conditions and their relationship. Second, a researcher using a case study design can apply a variety of methodologies and rely on a variety of sources to investigate a research problem. Third is design can extend experience or add strength to what is already known through previous research. Fourth is social scientists in particular make wide use of this research design to examine contemporary real-life situations and provide the basis of the application of concept and theory and the extension of methodologies. And the fifth is the design can provide detailed description of specific and rare cases. So, this slide will tell about the case study don't tell us, which is first is a single or small number of cases offer little basis of establishing reliability or to generalize the finding to a wider population of people, place, or things. Intense exposure to the study of a case may bias a researcher interpretation of the finding. Third, design does not facilitate assessment of cause and effect relationship. Fourth is vital information may be missing, making the case hard to interpret. Fifth, the case may not be representative or typically of the larger problem being investigated. And the finally is if the criteria of selecting a case is because it is represent a very unusual or unique phenomenon or problem for study, then your interpretation of the finding can only apply to the particular cases. So next slide. So this will present by Ziza, right?
When should you use a case study in research? First is when the researcher is trying to answer how and why questions. Second, when the researcher cannot manipulate the behaviors of those being studied. Third is when the researcher wants to look closer at contextual conditions relevant to the issues being studied. And lastly is when boundaries between the issue being studied and the context are not clear. Second content is technique. Qualitative research technique used in case studies, there are five. First, observations. Second, recording. Third, textual analysis. Fourth, deep interviews. And lastly, focus group interview.
So now I will continue about the types of case study. Okay, first is explanatory case study. This is a research that answers why question is referred to as explanatory research. This will focus on phenomena within the context of real-life situation. This type of case study will be used if we are seeking to answer a question that sought to explain the presumed causal links in real-life intervention that are too complex for the experimental strategies. For example, the recent work of Simon and Wurtley 2010 sought to discover whether receiving corporal punishment from parents led children to turn to violence in solving their interpersonal conflict with other children. In their study with 102 families with children between age of 3 and 7, the researcher found that experiencing frequent spanking did, in fact, result in children being more likely to accept aggressive problem-solving techniques. Next slide. Second is exploratory case study. This type of study is used to explore those situations in which the intervention being evaluated has no clear and single set of outcomes. A researcher does some exploratory work to learn what method to use in collecting data and how best to approach research questions. This study aims to find answer to the question of what or who. Data collection method is often accompanied by additional data collection methods such as interview, questionnaire, experiment, and etc. For example, a study into differences of leadership practice between private and public sector organizations in Atlanta, USA.
Thank you, Fatin and Azza. So I will continue from Fatin type of study. So we have seven types of case study. So Fatin already explained two type of case study. So I will explain five of type of case study. So that is descriptive case study. So these are primarily same with the illustrative study. And this case study is account from the natural phenomena that occur within the context of data in questions. This case study is using one or two examples of a case of demonstrate what the situation is like. For example, what different strategies are used by a reader and how the reader use them. So this case study has a challenge. The challenge of a descriptive case study is the researcher must start with a descriptive theory to support the description of the phenomena or story. Next slide. For multiple case study, so This case study is the some study contain more than a single case. And this case study is to explore and compile the information for variety of case study at a different times. This case study also investigate whether there are similarity or differences among the case characteristics to get a better understanding of particular interest of the researcher. So, for example, study of the school innovation, independent innovation occur at the different site. Since the comparison will be made either similar or differences, it is important that case can be considered and selected to predict positive or negative outcome. So 5 is intrinsic case study. So this case study include the subject is the primary interest in explorations. This case study is seek to understand the case itself because it presents an unusual or unique situation that need to be described. It is not undertaken merely because the case reflects other cases. It highlights the function or problem, and the case itself is interested in all its specificity and ordinarity. So this method is useful for answering questions about the cause and effect. For instance, evaluation of the process of implementing an innovation in a situation and a student who having difficulty in class. Next slide. 6. Instrumental case study. So this case study is to provide insight into a specific problem, rewrite general statement, and construct a theory. This case study used the case facilities such as we know that maybe the people in environments and others to understand of particular interest and situation. This case study also analyze in the deep the context of the case are scrutinized. It is mandatory activity detail and because it helps the researcher pursue the external interest. For instance, component of observable behavior that indicate potential for patient present in the emergency department. Next slide. The last of the type of case study is collective case study. So this case study that come from the last researcher is in 2023. They state that the collective case study are similar in the nature and description to multiple case study. That means this case study is similar with the multiple case study. So this case study is involve more than one case which may or may not correlate with other cases. So the case study may be conducted at one location by examining a number of variety different departments or units at the location. This case study also provides a general understanding using an instrumental case study on. So for example, collect a data biography of the person, specific group, occupation, department, and organization from a different case study and collect to become the one case study. That is all for me. So I pass to the next presenter to present the step of conducting case study.
Okay, so thank you, Azza. So I will continue with step of conducting case study. There are 6 steps. First, we need to determine our topic. Second is we determine type of case study, method used, and data collection. There are 6. First, document article records, interview, direct observations, participation observations, and lastly is artifact. And third is we need to select our participants. Fourth, we collect data. And fifth is we analyzing the data. Typically, data analysis is done holistically or through coding. And lastly, we need to write up our report. So I will proceed to the reliability and validity case study. Like other research method, it is important to demonstrate reliability and validity in case studies. This might be difficult because of the uniqueness of the situations. This is because this case study may be inconsistent with other case studies. Thus, there are some questions to be answered while conducting a case study. First, what exactly is a case? How is it identified and selected? And second, what kind of case study is this? What is the purpose of case study? Third, to what extent is regulations required and how will it be addressed? Fourth, how will the balance be struck between uniqueness and generalizations? And fifth, what is the most appropriate form of writing up and reporting the case study? And next is strengths and weaknesses of case study. There are two strengths. First, flexibility. Case study emphasis is explorations rather than prescriptions or predictions. Frees researcher to discover or address issues as they arise in their experience, and begin with broad questions which narrow as their research progresses. Second is emphasis on context. Case studies specialize in deep data or thick descriptions. This means information based on particular context that can give research. Result are more human face because case study conducting in deep data. That is bridge the gap between abstract researcher and concrete practices. And fourth, allows researcher to compare quantitative results with first-hand observations. And for the weakness, there are two also. First, inherent subjectivity. Opinions cite opportunities for subjectivity in case selections, study implementations, study presentations, evaluation of case study research. Conclusions rely upon personal interpretations of data and inference, and results may not be generalizable and difficult to test for validity. Case study rarely offer a problem-solving prescriptions, and lastly, relying on one or few subjects for cognitive extrapolations means one might infer too much from what might be specific circumstance. And second is high investment. This is because case study its emphasis on deep data, and maybe the researcher may have to over research the subject. They need to investigate about the participant, data, and so on. And lastly is example of case study. This is one of example of case study, which is investigating the reason for differences in recruitment rates of minority ethnic people in asthma research. Objective this case study is to investigate approaches to bolster recruitment of South Asians into UK asthma studies through qualitative research with US and UK researchers and UK community leaders. Study design in this case study is single intrinsic case study, and data collection in this case study, in-depth interviews were conducted with asthma researchers from the UK and US. Analysis from this study is framework approach. So this basically the example of case study. I think that's all from us. Thank you for eating. Thank you for the listening our presentation. Hope you all can enjoy our presentation. Goodbye.